So I built the tip time app. So basically what it does, it has a like input, and we enter some text, and it calculates tip amount. Okay. I'm gonna look at the documentation and this talk about some things they did. So we're not building this app from scratch. Instead, we have uh, we we've been given starter code. If you can either download it or clone. You can open a terminal in a folder where you want the project and clone it. Git clone. Maybe you need to use a git init or whatever. If you know git, you can use it like this, or if you're not familiar with git, you can download the zip and copy the files, or you could just copy the text or whatever. Okay, so the first thing, these are they're going through the files, the default the starter files. So we are used to saying this is a string XML. We can use the name with like R class, R dot strings dot app name. This is used, these strings are used when we are translating the app. We I don't know, like we could use the app name /es, or for en for English, es for Spanish, or something like that. I don't know how that works. So main activity Kotlin file. If you go to the main activity Kotlin file, you will notice a composable tip time layout. Yeah, here we have text, two text and a spacer nested inside a column. If we look at the text, this is getting the string calculate tip, which is this calculate tip. We're getting the string, we're passing it to text named parameter and modifier. We have 16 dp for the bottom and 40 dp for the top, and align, we're aligning it to start. That's what you're seeing here. So this this is a column, so they are like stacked on top of one another, and their horizontal alignment. Okay, vertical arrangement, right? This is the main axis. They're using they're referencing main axis with vertical arrangement, and they are centering it on main axis, and cross axis they are also centering it. So if we want to center like this, we need to give max size to the modifier. So I'm noticing some methods that I'm not familiar with. Status bar padding, vertical scroll, safe drawing paddings, and padding. This named, I don't know this thing. So horizontal named parameters and I know this is used to align the child components inside of column. Okay, and text, we know the text style. They're using some garbage predefined uh, typography from material theme. And spacer is just used to add some space, just give it some height or whatever. Okay, that's this. And they created a private function called private calculate tip that takes amount that's in double, meaning it has a decimal point. Tip percentage also double. The default value is 15, 15, and this returns a string. This function returns a string, and this is how the string is formatted. So the return value will look something like this: a dollar followed by double. So if you pass in like 7.50, that will return this string. So to return that, you need to remember this function. And this is the tip time layout, and they're using that composable on the set content, and then they're using it on the preview. They're saying our app uses a custom style and theme. This is default, I think, but they're right. We're so composable that we're gonna start using is a custom one. So we can customize this, but for now though we're using default. Okay, so we're now being introduced to new composable called a text field. Text field accepts, for now we're just using these three parameters, named parameters: value, unchanged value, and modifier. We're gonna get into how this works. So if you pass in value, if you ever you would be probably familiar with this, how this might work if you ever used React. So this value, like in React, if we explicitly assign some values to the value attribute, we're making that component a React controlled component or something like that. For now though, just this text field, whatever the value this inside of this assigned to this value of parameters of the text field will display it. um, whenever the value changes, on value change function will run, and we can run whenever that changes. You can pass in a callback. For now though, this whenever you see square brackets, just think of it as a lambda function, and modifier is just passing in some custom styles or whatever. So we're creating a new composable edit number field, and we are returning this text field, and we're passing that newly created custom composable, and this is what it looks like. So basically we don't have any values, so there's no way this can change. So the only situation the values changes is when the app recompose or whatever. To make something, to make the recomposition app, we need something called the state variables. Okay, so that's the part we're gonna go into next. So we're creating a custom variable, just immutable variable. We created it, and then we're setting the value to this. So what happens is that when we click this text field, we'll get a keyboard. But when we press the buttons on the keyboard, nothing will happen because the value never changes. It never recomposes, or on value change doesn't does run this function, but it never updates the values. Whenever the app recompositions, it redeclares the values. So if we did update the value, if we change it to variable and try to update it, it will update it, but when the recomposition, it will redeclare it to be 0. So the compositions, that's what they're like talking about now. So instead of like this, we want to create a state variable. To create a state variable, we need to use the mutable state of what's this function, and this is the type of that function. This is the type, but you can leave it and let the Kotlin implicitly deduce the type. Okay, but if you leave it like this, you will get an error or a message saying creating a state object during composition without using remember. Okay, so what this makes is that your values will be remembered whenever a recomposition happens. So we can access the values by using amount import value and unchange, where okay, so we are updating the value. Okay, remember, we get the value on value change. passes a value, that's the value we entered. We can get the value by using the it variable, and we are assigning that to the amount input value. So you're gonna assume, so since this value is changed, the value is gonna be also with the changed value, right? But why? What happened? We changed, but why is it not reflecting on the UI? Okay, amount input is tracked by compose. We can track it by using the mutable state. When the value changes, recomposition is scheduled, executed again. In that composable function, the amount input variable is reset to initial 0 value. So even though we did update the value, it never, whenever the recomposition is scheduled, it resets back to 0. So basically, now we are triggering a recomposition because of the state change tracked, because the amount input state is changed. But now we need to preserve the value between recompositions. So we do that by using this statement. We use by remember, and we pass in mutable state of some values. Okay, this is the statement. We need to remember it, and we also need to import these values. It doesn't automatically import all these what's this, classes or whatever, variables or whatever. We will get errors. If you get an error like this one, has no method, get value, nothing, then you forgot to import these variables. So I'm assuming after you use that, used remember to keep track of state changes between recomposition, you should be able to see the input value changes. So we're trying to debug the values. Just use the press on the gutter of the line where you wanna examine the values, and press in the bug icon, and you will see when debug will run, and when the compiler reaches that line, it will pass, and you can examine the values, and you can use the resume program icon to resume the program. If it recompositions, and if it reruns to composable, and when it reruns to composable, you will then come across the same line, and you can examine the value again. Modify the appearance. So we're trying to modify the text field component by using the first one. We're using label and single line, and we're also using keyboard options. We're passing in keyboard type is keyboard type number to the keyboard options. Okay, these things you need these are things we need to remember, right? So value, so let's see, single line label. So label is if the value is okay, even though the value is 0, okay, how do I get out of this? So basically this is the label. If you're not clicking click the text field component, it will display the label in big. When you press it, the label will go on top and you can enter the text. So we're using label named parameter to assign a string to this this value. So we're customizing what string to display in this place. So okay, and single line true, that's something I kind of don't understand. This condenses the text box to a single horizontally scrollable line from multiple lines. I don't know what does that mean, bro, honestly. I don't know, horizontally scrollable line from multiple lines, I don't really understand what they mean. Okay, keyboard options. So you would probably notice the keyboard is different compared to when before we use this named parameter. We get a standard keyboard with we got a standard QWERTY keyboard. Now we just have numbers. So to make it make the keyboard use numbers, we need to use this parameter. Okay, we need to remember it. There's no other way. Get used to it. Display the tip amount. So now we have a problem. So basically we want to display the amount we entered and we want to calculate the percentage of that amount and display it in this composable. So as you can see, this is where we have the text field and this is the text. We have state variable inside of this composable, but we don't have access to that variable, so we can't just use the values. So what we gotta do is use something called state hoisting. So that's what so whenever the adjacent component or a parent component of a composable where we initialize the state variable needs that variable, we need to hoist that variable. So to do that, we just need to declare the variable where both the composables have access. So these variables, this state variable is access to both edit number field and text. So we initialize the state variable and we're converting it to a string. We're converting it to double. So basically when we enter the amount, it gets passed as a string. So we are converting it to double, and then we're passing that amount, we're passing that double to calculate tip, and it will return a string, and we're gonna use a string here. So in this text composable, and it will display. So how are we using these state variables? So we're passing the state variable, we're passing the value, so the initial value and the state variable. Okay, so the state variable has the initial value, so we're passing that variable. Where are we? Yeah, here we're passing, we have told, we are initialized in such a way that we accept the value. Okay, and we're using whatever value that is passed as a parameter as the text field value, and then we're also accepting unchanged value. We're using whatever passed as unchanged value. So whenever the unchanged event fires, we're gonna call the unchanged function. This function, where is it? On value change. Okay, so we are just passing it. When we initially invoke the function, we are passing inline, so there's no initialization for this function. In JavaScript, we'll just call it anonymous function. So we're just passing this function, so that function is gonna be used as whenever the value changes. Okay, that function has access to the variable amount input, so it can change it. It will change it, and whenever the amount changes, all these components gets rendered, and we can see the change. Okay, that's pretty much it.